Okay.
Hey,
All
everybody,
right,
welcome to the show.
the FL Studio,
Oh,
where we
yeah.
talk about reality and not no delusions allowed.
Yeah, I was telling Daddy just a minute ago that it would probably be important to have just some 4-hour live stream of this because it's like, it's great, but there is times where there's a lull, and then someone
Yeah,
every 10 minutes, but though someone will say some gem that's like, oh shit, like that's salvageable, and
yeah,
you got to wade through the
yeah,
muddy waters of finding those gems. But sometimes just hanging out is when you end up, just something comes up every whatever minutes and it's just like, oh shit, yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
Whatever, anyway.
The thing is that when we're talking about you know the dilemma of existence, we have to put everything aside in that conversation. Now people can't do that. They're just too uh, controlled by their trigger mechanisms, the triggers of certain words, right? You say a certain word, oh, you're getting oh, he's a misogynist, or oh, you're a racist, oh, you say poor people shouldn't have kids. Like, I mean, they haven't even made the nest and they're gonna lay eggs in it. I mean, it should be obvious. No, you're being racist or this or that or ableist or some other bullshit. You get all these words on top of you when you're just simply trying to get to the core of the dilemma of existence, of what's the main thing. We feel good and we feel bad, right? Those are the two main things. Now tomorrow there's going to be sentient beings who will be feeling good and feeling bad. Now you just do the numbers and the FList argument wins. It's not good enough. Life is not good enough.
Yeah, you see all this, this sentient slaughter, sentient torture, and the good can never outweigh the bad. Like you talked about the asymmetry argument. It's like our nervous systems are wired to experience suffering far more intensely and in longer duration than good feelings, which is a relief from a negative state. There's no neutral states. You cannot feel pleasure without or relief from suffering without first being in a state of suffering.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's one of the things, right? I asked this question. I asked you guys too. Can you guys think of an intrinsic positive that isn't that doesn't have a pre predates precedent of a negative thing, a negative feeling? I can't think of any of that, right?
yeah.
Like the best, and the argument wins when I give you the best positive is the prevention of the worst negative, right? You build a painkiller, or you make a cancer cure. That's a positive because it's a very good positive that can prevent
I think we lost you.
Oh man. Yeah.
He's frozen.
There, buddy.
Yeah, you're total. If you hear us, you're totally frozen.
Oh, he is making a great point.
Yeah, he was. Well,
Everything has to come from a negative, like cancer cures. There has to be oh, I think there you are.
yeah, I don't know what happened. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, even in your personal life, you get hungry and you get horny, right? So those are the desired mechanisms that control you. Now, let's say what I can give them the benefit of the doubt of, like, surprise, right? They're just going out on the street and they find $100 bill. Oh, yeah, that's positive. But even that is just a positive because there's you think you have a notion in your head that you can do something with those $100, right? So everything
well, that
is
that
negative. We
that
start with negative and then we release those negatives.
Well,
that and the guy that just lost $100 breaks even, if anything.
Yeah, yeah.
it's like you can't enjoy a glass of water without first being thirsty. And the bigger negative is if you don't hydrate yourself, if you don't eat or drink, you will die. So we're
Yep.
enslaved by these desires like hunger, thirst, and sexual desires, which of course is an evolutionary mechanism to encourage procreation, even for people
Yep.
who are antinatalists like us.
So what do you guys say if people are saying you're just being negative? You're depressed. You just hate life because your life sucks or whatever. And go take some depression meds or all these condescending remarks, like what do you guys say to that when people say that?
I know a lot of miserable people who go to church every Sunday and pop out kids. So,
Yeah.
and have this, they talk positive bullshit. They find silver linings, but they're still miserable. But there's people who are not as miserable, who are atheists, who are ethilists. It's not about psychology, it's about philosophy.
Well, that and it could be just like the reality that we have discovered is depressing. So of course it's going
Yeah.
to depress you. What are you gonna have, a
Yeah.
party that life sucks, or some big
Yeah,
party that
exactly.
suffering is shitty, guys? Come on over. That's the theme to the party. Like you're not
And
gonna.
I just give them the simple counter argument. First of all, it's not about me, and second thing, even if I'm depressed, how am I wrong? Can you prove if I'm wrong? Can you prove any of the? Is the philosophical view of Efilism wrong? Regardless, Efilists are, you know, depressed or suicidal or whatever. That's irrelevant. That should be irrelevant. So I just give them the simple argument that you're just being a deluded person because you haven't even understood the basis of logic. That is, first, don't argue the messenger, argue the message. So they haven't even done that. Now they can play the psychology game of, oh, you're depressed, and if you were, then you wouldn't have been arguing for Efilism, and that's just bullshit. I've talked to people who have, reasonably better lives, and they say, yeah, even if our lives are good, it doesn't justify the cost. The cost is not worth it. The side effect of life is, it's wrong, it's
Oh,
unethical. We wouldn't want it to be the risk to be imposed on us. So you don't have to be depressed, the risk. You have to be logical to recognize the risk. That would be my counter argument.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And it's like you see it, yeah, I mean, noticing that your life is suffering for everybody, we're all doomed by evolutionary design. Yeah, those are facts. And, I'm not going to smile, knowing that fact, but I'm going to know it's a fact. It's like being diagnosed with cancer. You recognize the fact. You're not going to jump up and down. Like it's like, like you said, also, it's not about the individual, it's about life in of itself.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
even a recycler is like gets it. Just it's nice to recycle, but you kind of yell at a person that's not recycling, and it's I don't know if that's a good analogy, but it's like they're recycling because they know shit is fucked up and they're trying to fix a problem, which is great, I guess, depending on what you think about how, much of a futile endeavor that is. But I don't know. It's just, yeah. I was just trying to think of like ways people perceive good and negative things, some people think of it as a waste of time, and other people it's just perception. How to change perception, I guess, is of people's views on this whole thing, and like to stop playing that game of psychology and being like, oh well, the depths of rape is just so much deeper than your best pizza you've ever had or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly. And even the best pizza, you were like, if you were sick on that day, you wouldn't eat that pizza. You would say, I'm sick. I don't want it. Even if it's the best pizza of all time. If you're not hungry for it, you won't eat it.
Yeah.
And so that's why the game, the thing is recognizing, like, you have to do introspection, like you have to reflect on yourself too. You have to look back at your life. You have to see how you operate, right? And then you realize, oh, you look in the mirror and you say, okay, I'm a piece of fuck, I'm a piece of shit. I gotta do better. I gotta reform myself. And if you're in that mindset, then I think Efilism would be you'll be more receptive to Efilism, because you'll realize that you're just an animal. You're just a ape, a conscious stuck in an ape, just like all these other consciousness are stuck in the cat or dog or whatever. We're just stuck in this force of by this force of nature, the DNA replication. It's so uh, ingrained in the core of sentience, that yeah. And these things shouldn't make one say that, okay, it's fine, let it perpetuate. No, it should say, one should say, holy shit, it's slavery. We're basically slaves to biology. And like, you can see that you need to have a bathroom. You need to go and take a shit. You're hungry now, you need to eat. You're thirsty now, you need to quench your thirst. So this is negative. This is not positive. This is negative. This cycle of continuously doing this uh, fulfilling of needs is negative. Even though you're having fun, even though you can say my life is worth it, but as an objective fact, you look at it objectively by putting yourself out and looking at a being on earth chasing his tail, you say it's negative. It's pointless. It's negative. It doesn't need to exist. Even if you like it personally, you can still be intellectually honest and say, no, this is not the thing. I'm stuck in a negative cycle, not a positive cycle. A negative cycle. Addiction is negative, not positive. Even if I love the high, I can still recognize it's a pointless addiction.
Yeah, and like the amount of, I mean, even that best pizza is such a, how many pizzas have you eaten in your life too, to like, how much food have you eaten in your life to consume? I mean, you could fill the skyscraper maybe of all just the food I've eaten in life, and it's like, damn,
Yeah.
just one person. That's just one person. And there's the amount of consumption and like resources,
And
and that's just
that
food.
that brings me, yeah, and that brings me to the main point that nobody wants to talk about, right? Which is infliction of harm by your continued existence, by our continued existence. Like, people say that, bring the argument of, even anti-atheists, they bring the imposition argument, the asymmetry argument, all that, but they don't recognize the argument from infliction. If a sentient being is going to be alive and happy and healthy, it's always going to be at a price of another sentient being experiencing suffering. It's always going to be that way.
Yeah, and imagine like this
So
Some
some
game.
it's not worth it. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, go ahead, Kevin.
I was just saying, yeah, like I couldn't, like the degree of suffering is just like, even though you paid money for things, and this is like this weird system we have, it's like you still, like, you never know, like someone, I bought a flashlight, all right, I needed it. But
Yeah.
like this could have been someone's worst day of their life making this flashlight. They could have even killed themselves over this flashlight because that was the straw that broke its,
Yeah.
it's himself. And I don't know. I mean, it's because it's just, there's so much humans, and the population is the biggest problem. Is there's not enough resources now to sustain all of us. So now we're all kind of fighting by the claws. We're all just crawling over each other, and we're greedy, and that's the whole part of Efilism too is just in our DNA. We're just programmed to be these apex predators that just will be will greedy and will take you over, will exploit you, will capitalize you, and do whatever it takes to get ahead, you know, and get our needs met. Not many people are really thinking about like, oh, how the needs of others. How are you doing? Okay, you're okay. You good? You know, it's not really. It's more just me. What can I do to get to become a, you know, have more cash in the bank?
It's just,
and it's always going to be at a price. Yeah.
It's just a basic understanding of evolution and how we evolved, how all animals evolved. You know, they evolved to fight. The only way evolution is possible is through fighting, exploitation, killing, and it's horrible. And, you know, these traits are just as relevant in humans as they are in any other animals. We're all playing the same game of chasing the cheese until we expire, and there's nothing redeemable about any of this. There was no need for it, and there definitely isn't a justification to perpetuate it.
Yeah,
it's
most people that have died don't have a monument. I mean, even that wouldn't be enough redemption needed, you know, to justify their life. But most people just disappear and that's it. I mean, within one lifetime, you know, a generation of a family tops, you know, if someone dies after they've gone, nobody even knows you exist anymore unless, you know, you're some kind of Einstein or Michael Jordan or whatever, you know. But the 99.99% of us are literally forgotten about. So any of the suffering that you acquired and experienced while you were on this planet that was like insanely negative, and we know that you know, I mean, just go to like old prisons and, you know, read the history of that, or old mental health care facilities and the abuse they, you know, endured. All of that though is forgotten and just utter total freaking waste, just thrown down the garbage of suffering that had no redeeming value whatsoever. It's sad.
You just have to be a historian. I mean, just a simple historian. Look at the Holocaust, the war. I mean, the world wars, the diseases, the plagues, the tribalism, the
COVID.
yeah, COVID. Everybody fighting each other, like the war in Ukraine. It's never going to stop with humans because yeah, we are apex predators. I mean, it's just like telling you know, a cheetah to stop, you know, chasing the zebra. You know, it's I mean, that's horrible too. It happens in nature or, you know, animals and human life. It's just, you know, fuck life.
Yeah.
There we go. Fuck.
And yeah, and I bring like when we look at these you know, nature documentaries and all that, like I ask the people, like, you know, you look at a lion eating a zebra, what do you think about that? Like, what's the first thing that is going to come in your head when you look at that? I would say, oh, that's unnecessary suffering, you know. And but people say that's just nature or that's the circle of life, and you know, so you can't, first you have to make them understand what the thing is, then you have to make them recognize the imperative that it should be ended, it should be prevented. Until they can understand it, like Danny said, evolution, this is, you read the selfish gene, you watch National Geographic on television, you see the attrition rate in the wild. You first have to just be aware of this knowledge of what has been going on planet Earth. Then you have to make them aware of the imperative to end it, to press the red button. Until they can, they still believe there's a God, so like the whole evolution question just goes out of their head. So, and they're so aggressive about their beliefs, that's another problem, right? And it's like, well,
it's hard
it's a very
because
hard, right? Personally, you have to personally you have to recognize that I don't speak all the languages, right? So like I can't even do this simple convincing all the humans thing, right? Because I can speak all the other languages, and then you get into the nuances of all these languages, you know. old languages, their poetry, what words they use to, just affect people, just give them the eureka moment. And, you've learned another language, but you can't convey the message as effectively as you can. So there are a lot of problems, and it's not going to fix itself. There's got to be some initiative by a collaborative intelligence. And the fact is, there are no intelligent people, like very few, who can come together and recognize the imperative to end this infestation, this bug infestation on planet Earth. Like, even if they weren't humans, right? Just the insects themselves, just insect life on Earth, you would still say, press the, this is stupid. This is this is pointless. It doesn't accomplish anything, and it's at a price of suffering. It's at a price of pain, and nothing justifies the pain. And that's my argument, basically. Even a little bit of pain, it cannot be justified. It just cannot be justified logically.
Here's a harder way of trying to convince these people into these things as well, is like now that technology is developed and all these things, these toys, that are fun, whatever it may be, a kite, like all these things is just things to help us avoid life and get out of like facing the realities of life. And it only makes it harder to convince them that this whole thing is a joke. What you're doing is stupid. Your little hobby that you have, whatever it is just a waste of time, and you're not really doing anything cool. Like, and it's hard to get over just that when you just say like life is a problem. Life is causing so much suffering and harm, and they'll be like, oh, but what about my,
Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, the more we want, the more we need. In Minham, Gary said, we did not evolve to be satisfied, but motivated. So we're never going to be satisfied. All these gadgets have unfortunately made people even more dumber and unaware because, yeah, like the distractions you mentioned.
Well, it shows with all online, like viruses and trolling and all bullies and all, like, oh, whatever, all these things, just that's all the internet has done is, oh yeah, we could pay our phone bill a little bit easier, big deal. But I mean, it's exposed Efilism even more though, because there's so much nastiness on any platform you're on. You're just like some platforms get so inundated with bullies and spam and whatever, that it's not even fun anymore. It's a waste of time or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, people can truly show how monstrous they are online, and then they're taking that language and they're using it in day-to-day life. And I don't think do you think Donald Trump would have even been elected if people wasn't so used to like online trolling? Because he reminds me of a fucking like one of the worst like online trolls. Like he takes it out of the computer, and everybody's like supporting him. It's like, we support monsters. We're really good at supporting monsters. And I had a thought about earlier about the religious thing. Like all life and human life, we are desperate and violent. And I think that's part of the reason why religion um, influences so many people. It appeals to their desperation to be free. It appeals to, their violent impulses, their violent carnal nature by having these violent gods. So God was created in our image, invented, made up in our image, not the other way around. And have all this religion, like original sin. I mean, they talk about suffering, life being suffering, but they make up Adam and Eve stories. You take away Adam and Eve and replace it with the original tragedy, which is the first DNA replicating DNA molecule, and then you have an Efilist understanding.
Yeah, like the Buddha, right? Buddha said life is suffering, but like he didn't say the complete statement. Life is suffering. Stop having kids. He didn't complete the statement.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh
Or explode the world, whatever. Something
yeah,
that
yeah,
actually
yeah,
something that actually finishes the job. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
antinatalism is great, but it doesn't. It's like step 1 to me. On a step 9
yeah.
process. And
I-
unfortunately, like the red button is the step 9, and some
yeah,
people
that's
say,
the pro-modalist. And that's one of the things I want to ask you guys to like. I'll give you a thought experiment. You've got only 2 buttons, right? And you can only press one, right? And if you press that one button, one is blue, right? If you press the blue button, it will make every sentient being on the planet sterile like this. And the other is the red button. If you press that, every being will be dead instantly. Which one should you press?
Red.
"Oh yeah, it's
I'm a
easy.
red.
It's red, easy."
Or this-
But the average person would probably be like, well, blue though, because your life is still going to be there, and we're going to enjoy our lives in masturbation sessions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like this is the distinction between a pro-modalist and in my opinion, a pro-modalist and you know, a lifeist, or
Yeah.
whatever the opposite philosophy would be. Because like even if you press the blue button, it will end it, right? It will end the like no procreation. Yeah, life will cease to exist. That's pro-modalism. But the recognition that death is the ultimate escape for the beings who are already alive. That recognition is a hard pill to swallow. And
And the
they
fact
just
that
stick to
they'll,
it's not about killing, it's about not procreating and all that. They stick to this to safeguard the philosophy. But like there's a right answer to every question. And yeah, in this one, you should press the red.
I
Yeah.
mean, the blue button is a lot better than the green button, the pro-life button. But 100 years of suffering. Okay, if we pressed the blue button, that would mean that life would continue suffering for another century, and a century is a long time. I mean, if you
Yeah,
look at the collective suffering that has been happening in the past minute, I mean, it's unimaginable.
exactly.
Oh.
this is the problem, yeah, people have with the idea of killing and consent and like all these things. But like, if you don't do that, hit the red button, you're now kind of like guilty for being the criminal of neglect, right? The worst child neglector on planet Earth, because you've done nothing to help them.
Yeah, 80 billion animals will be slaughtered by humans. Like, let's not even get to the nature, right? Just this one thing. So the whole argument of killing, it's so backward. It works in our favor, right? Because there are gonna be like 2 days of those killings, right? 80 billion, 80 billion. Sorry, 2 years of those killings, 80 billion, 80 billion. 160 billion animals suffered and died, right? So let's say after 2 years, the life ends, right? But right now, I have the button to end it right now. I can just this one aspect of the game of animals being tortured in slaughterhouses. That should just make you say, all right, even if I'm violating, if I'm killing right now everyone, just that one species of cows, or the species that humans used to exploit for their consumption, just those 4 or 5 species, preventing that for 2 years makes it justified, because it's more in numbers. At the end of the day, it's all a mathematical calculation. It's more in weight, and the numbers are on our side. So it's like the thought experiment of, if you have to torture one to prevent the same torture for two, and that's the only option in the universe, the right answer is you will torture that one to prevent the two. It's just logic, and nothing else should make the decision except logic. people think emotionalisms and godisms and religion should make the decision. No, logic should make the decision, not popularity, not everybody's on board. No, what's the logical answer? And the logical answer is you impose suffering on one to prevent the same suffering from being experienced by two.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what bothers me about the consent thing too, is it's all or nothing, as people think, but it's, to me, one exception. It's the one exception. Everything has an extenuating circumstance, right? So, you don't want to break consent of someone else's whatever. But to me, there's just one. This is one exception for a red button. Is like, we're solving a problem here. Sorry, tough shit. I mean, I hate to be so cruel about it, but if there's a drunken bus driver up front and you rip him out of the seat to save the 60 passengers, you broke his consent to have fun driving the bus. But it's like, fuck you, I'm preventing suffering, get out of the way, I don't care.
Yeah.
Such a great
And then they bring up this argument that, but for antinatalism you use the argument for consent. Hey, the beings didn't consent, so you violated their consent, so that's why having kids is wrong. I'm going to be consistent. If you can say to me, present me the rational calculations that you're going to have a kid and that kid is going to prevent a lot of suffering, then it's going to cause, the kid is going to end sentient life on earth. Yes, have that kid. I don't mind violating that kid's consent. I'm going to be consistent with my philosophical view. I won't mind. I won't be against the violation. Yeah, it's a violation of that kid's consent. I agree. I concede. But the win is the prevention of more suffering, and that's just logic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't figure out. We don't know beforehand which kid is going to grow up to
the uncertainty. Yeah. So that's why you take obviously nobody can do these calculations, right? But the firm calculation with the red button is, if it all ends, there won't be any more. So in that context, the consent argument is like nothing. It shouldn't even be an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a means to an end. It's the ultimate means to an end. We're not talking about violating consent with continued existence. I mean, this is the ultimate problem solver. I mean, sometimes you have to, it was like in Japan during World War II. You had to drop a couple of nukes to end the war.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a price for that. A lot of people will get radiation sickness in the future, all of that. Yeah, there's a price for that. But again, you have to do the calculations. If you don't do it, then what's the price? And then you weigh it up. That's what all the emotions, all the extra delusions, all this, oh, but I love my family, I can't press the red button, I love my family. You have to get over it. Even the emotions and ego of yourself of, oh, I'll be this when I grow up, or that. You have to, because when you're this is what the red button exposes to. When you're pressing it, you're dying too. So you have to get over your own bullshit too, that, oh, I want to be alive, but I want to be alive. Bullshit. Yeah. Bullshit. The context is reality, and what's the right answer.
Exactly. I think that's one of the reasons that, Efilism is so hard to accept, is because it goes against the carnal instinct of evolution, the instinct to stay alive, the instinct to keep chasing for silver linings. So it breaks people's psychology, but it's still the freaking truth. And that's why we got to use our brains, our evolved brains that should do better at math.
Yeah, it's like the ghost thing, right? Like Danny, I was in the same thing too. Like when I was, my sisters used to watch a lot of the horror movies, and like every time I just like, it's on TV, all right, let's just sit down and watch it. And I used to get terrified as hell. And like I literally used to think, oh, there's something in the bathroom, and I have to keep the door open when I go in the bathroom, otherwise there's gonna be a hand that comes out of the cupboard. It was like, I saw the movie Grudge, and it just fucked me out, right? So and also all this other programming of, hey, in your grandmother's place, there on the roof there are ghosts, and this is what my aunt is telling me, right? She's a grown human being. And I'm like, okay, okay. But then, like you said, once you're free from all of this, now I say to people, I give them challenge. Yeah, give me the most haunted place in the world. I'll go there and live. Yeah, pay my bills, pay everything. I'll live in the most haunted place ever. But I know there's no such thing as ghost town. It was all a thing shoved in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
same with me.
infuriating.
There's this abandoned prison a couple of counties away. I forgot what it's called, but they have this challenge where people go in there, it's supposed to be haunted and stuff like that. I'm like, I would stay there for a month, just, as long as I have internet connection, just, in a nice little prison cell that I can walk in and out of. Just, I'll stay there at dark. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about real shit.
Yeah.
I'm worried about nature. I'm worried about the monsters that really do exist, the fleshy things that are being tortured and torture other people. So there's no monsters under my bed or Jesus over my head, but there's something a hell of a lot worse than that. Nature itself.
Reality is the real monster.
Yes.
Don't wear out your line though, buddy. But you don't want to overstay your welcome on your sweet for new phrase.
Well, think why we wasn't live, so I thought I would.
I know, I'm just fucking around. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like
I mean, yeah, it's like the delusions are like there should be like we shouldn't even be having a conversation with a person who thinks that there is a God. I mean, I just don't find any. How do you even start the conversation when the fundamental are just we can't you can't be logical if you believe that a god created this. It's there's no logic in that, because you still have to tell me where did god come from. If you can't do that, then it's a stupid, it doesn't explain anything, so you basically just talked out of your ass. So instead of saying god created this world, you could just fart on the screen or something, that because it's essentially that.
Well,
Exactly.
essentially,
It's Santa Claus for adults. Might as well believe in the fucking Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
well, how can you believe in a God too that's good and love, right? They even say God is love, and still have and sit back and watch the carnage nightmare that's going on planet Earth, and forget about condoning it. God, people could say God doesn't like that stuff or either or whatever, but you can still be like, but he's still sitting back doing nothing about it whatsoever. Like, doesn't that make him evil in and of its own?
Well, yeah. All these made up massacre. I mean, of course, massacres happened back then, but all the stuff that God supposedly ordered, all the massacres. I mean, baby killing, sacrificing animals. I mean, yeah, that's freaking evil. But he's a jealous God who never shows himself and is going to send everybody to hell for not believing in the stupid book. So, there's this argument that you can't prove a negative. I can prove a negative when it comes to religion. It's just too stupid. It's like Santa Claus. I can prove that Santa Claus doesn't exist because I can prove that reindeers can't fly. Santa Claus would, he can't deliver presents around the world. I mean, that's how simple it is. You can prove that a negative just by just exposing the stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, they think you can't make that. It's like they think they have a win for the logic on you can't prove a negative and stuff. And I don't know. And you're like, you're making
It
all
goes
these
like this.
claims though that are absurd.
It's like this, right? Like, first of all, I don't have to prove a negative. It's already negative until it's proven positive, right? The default is there is no god until proven otherwise. So that should be that's how logic works. But in the God context, I can like very simply prove it as a negative that Spider-Man doesn't exist, right? Like, obviously, somebody can understand the origin of the story of Spider-Man. It's human imagination. Same way, somebody can understand the origin of the story of God is in the dumb people who didn't know how the world worked in 2000 years ago or something. So it's a product of their imagination. So there in the library, there are books that are fictional and there are books that are information and knowledge, right? These two categories are distinct. Like, we don't have to prove all the fiction books to no they're actually fiction because of this. No, it's all we know it's fiction. It's not even it's such a disgusting argument to say no, you can't prove a negative. It's just an evasion from the truth, right? Because can't prove they're positive. They can't, you know, do their duty of, proving, but the burden of proof duty. It's on them to prove that there's even a slight evidence that a creator, an intelligent creator, created this. Not
Yeah. To me, it's just this big psychological warm blanket, like heated blanket that feels good to guard you from the fear of death and the fear of the afterlife and what happens after. And so they'll put his God's story on top of it, and it feels like, cool, my best friend's just there waiting for me when I die. And that's a big, I get how the idea is kind of a stress reliever, but it doesn't make it any more real. And in fact, it just proves more, that how much life is screwed up because it's so bad you had to come up with these kinds of stories, like life was so bad that this shit had to be invented.
If life didn't suck, everyone would be atheist.
Yeah, because then there would be no need to fill a void that which is of the fear of death or the fear of the afterlife.
One thing that I can grant them a little bit of, what is this? What is the happening? What is all of this? So the thing is that it's a way, like you and I, like all the sentience has won an insane lottery of being alive, right? It doesn't happen every time. Some things happen in 4 point some billion years, and that's the lottery we won. DNA molecule replicate, and that chain of cause and effect caused all of this, right? So the thing is that, like, man, it's so improbable that we could have existed. So there must be some God who created this. So I think that's why the idea is very appealing, because of the improbability of life happening, right?
Yeah.
So they say there must be a creator who created this, because this doesn't happen on itself. Like, we've seen it on Mars, like it doesn't happen. Like on Moon, there's no speck of life, anything, nothing. So I think their appeal to the God or some higher intelligence, or some multiverse or whatever, to just make this argument for oh fuck, it's so unlikely that it happened. There must be something that did all of this. No, there isn't. Some things happen once. These are one-time event, and then it's just a cause and effect chain, and you can't change that. It's just that's just the truth. It works on causes and effect. The universe works on causes and effects. That's it. There's no God who did this. There's just cause and effect. But the cause and effect of sentience and then intelligence, conscious intelligence, that I'm alive in this world, that happening is so improbable. So they make it out into, there must be a God who did this.
Yeah.
Yeah, people with a lack of understanding too usually just chalk everything up to God. Like, when people wrote the Bible, they didn't even understand how rainbows work. So, they made up flood, like the Noah's Ark and stuff like that. Lightning, of course, lightning was, yeah, actually, there's an interesting story. When the lightning rod was invented, by Benjamin Franklin, I believe, a lot of churches were against installing it because they believe that, God controls um, where the lightning goes.
And so you're deterring God's will.
But once their little wooden churches started burning down, they changed their mind pretty damn quick.
Yeah, it's like evolution with Catholicism. Like once it gets more proven and more fact, they're just like, fuck, we have to deviate our doctrine a little bit here to coincide with the culture, or else we're fucked.
Because at the end of the day, it's just the money game, right? They're doing it for the money. Like religion is a business, right? Like the whole life project is a business too, right? Where just it's just transactions going on, and the main currency is the pain and the suffering. So the transactions are, hey, if I'll do this, then I'll avoid this much pain and suffering. So I'll do this, or if I get a job, then I'll have money and I'll be able to pay for my bills, all of that, right? So it's life is a business, and all of these religions, all these others, even environmentalists, even vegans, like they're a lot of them are for the money because it's a part of the culture now, and they can get some jingle jangle out of it. So yeah, we'll do it. So a lot of most human beings will only op like if I one argument that I was talking to Rita, and this was the argument that I gave to him, that if we give them money, if we give people money, right, then they might accept Efilism because they're like, yeah, we'll give you money every week to video about Efilism. Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of Efilist content on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, because
Yeah.
people operate on this stuff, money, what's in it for them.
Yeah.
So you gotta make a win for them. You gotta get the ape a banana, otherwise the ape won't move, right? And you see that with your own psychology too, right? You, even if you think that, hey, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't steal money from my mother or whatever, because yeah, it's wrong, right? But you see the money right in front, and she's not going to know about it and all of that, right? So but still you then give your ape a banana that, no, I'll have integrity and I'll be an honest person, and honesty is good. So you're giving your ape a banana to do the right thing, right? So it's, at the end of the day, it's all just this business with yourself and with the other sentient, and it's a very bad game. It's very risky, very dangerous. Life is very risky, very dangerous, very uncertain, and it would be arrogant to say that it's worth it. It would be arrogant to say that this risk and uncertainty is worth it. But I don't see, like, I don't know, maybe they're living on some other planet, because I think you, me, all three of us, we can just be teleported to another planet, because we're not from it, because we're the logical ones. It's just that simple, and it sounds narcissist or whatever, but it's just the truth. We're the logical ones.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, it's like nobody else seems to be thinking and coming to the conclusions that we do. Like maybe the 1%, the rest.
Yeah, it's a percenter philosophy. It's like, you're and then, like, first you go to like the whole pro-life thing, people are religious, then you're like, okay, I'm an atheist now, then you find atheists, and then after that you're like, holy shit, even atheists are full of shit, then you find antinatalists, then you're like, oh my god, even antinatalists don't get it, then you come to the real picture of Efilism and promortalism, which is the not, like, people want the half-ass truth. They want to go for the half truth because it makes them feel a certain way. It makes them feel woke, or it makes them feel like, oh, I've woken up from the matrix. Bullshit. You don't even know the matrix, right? You don't even know what's happening to these animals every day. Like, and that's again, I bring the wild animal suffering is a huge problem. It is, in my opinion, the biggest problem. Wild animal suffering is the biggest problem, and nobody seems to give a shit about it. Nobody.
Yeah,
Like they,
it's like a hear no evil, see no evil thing, because obviously we can't be a mile underwater in the ocean, you know. But I mean, just imagine the sea life itself. That thing is
Oh, man.
crazy. I just, you know, how many hundreds of trillions of hundreds of trillions of every day, you know, just fish being eaten alive or in half, you know. They don't even get consumed. They just get bitten in half literally, and they're just like
I mean, there's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, you know, if I'm just stretching, I'm granting, you know, people the argument of they might not feel as much as we do, which is absurd. But I'm just saying, like, even if it was just half the pain that we feel, you've already lost the game. You know, you've already gone too far.
You know, there's so many vegans out there, so many anti-natalists out there. They're like, well, humans are the problem. I mean, we haven't been the solution so far, but it's life. Life itself is the problem and how it functions. So you'll see a lot of vegans and anti-natalists saying, without humans, animals will live in peace, or the wild, the people or the animals in the wild are at peace with nature. They're in harmony. They'll use words like harmony. Like, God damn. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they will point out the horrors happening in human-made factory farms, but not the one that does the most farming, the original one.
Yeah, the appeal to nature is a gross one. Whenever I had it just the other day talking to someone about extinctionism and primordialism and stuff, and they were just like, what about the animals though? You know, like the world was so great before humans came along. And I'm like, where do you get that from? How do you get that? Where do you think that ever was? Have you ever heard the stories of the dinosaurs? I mean, that's just a train wreck. Like, I can't imagine.
I mean, look how many. Evolution is like animals torturing each other to try to get to the top. And you know, you look at these fossils. There was actually fossils of animals eating each other before, you know, some kind of mudslide or something preserved their bones or something. And you can see.
It's very like you know, and like the thing is that I think it's how we look at it and they look at it. When I see an animal on the road run over, right, for example, and I see like what an unnecessary waste of suffering. They see circle of life, you know. It's what like first they have to recognize that the circle of life is the circle of suffering, and then they have to recognize the imperative to end the circle of suffering. So they're just so far out that you know, they don't even like know the numbers in the wild, right? The vegans who think that veganism will, like, I'm a vegan. I argue for reducing, minimizing your harm footprint if you're alive. It's a noble thing to do, but I have to be logically honest. The numbers, right? The numbers are the more like you guys said, the ocean life is fuck. Like, would you want to be a fish? Would you want to live the average fish story? It's like, what are we even arguing? And then like then you say to them when it comes to antinatalism, they're like, oh, but these women, they want to have kids. I'm like, why do they want that? You shouldn't want another person. What the fuck is the shit of wanting someone? You shouldn't even have this, you know. And it's like, what the fuck are you arguing? Like, you can adopt. No, but well, still don't adopt or whatever. They're like, what is this, the best orgasm a woman has? Like getting her vagina completely stretched out by having a parasite come out of it. Like, is this the best orgasm? This is what I have to counter argue now. For your orgasm, it's okay to impose suffering on a sentient being. Like, oh fuck, it makes me angry.
Hey, you know what? Oh,
If we
sorry.
talk to, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying there's this thing called orgasmic childbirth where women they train themselves so when the baby comes out they can actually have an orgasm during it, and they have YouTube
Ugh.
videos of it, YouTube videos of women getting off by using their babies as dildos. I'm like, oh, God damn, that's oh, that don't go against community guidelines. Are you serious?
Ugh.
Okay, I like you told me about this now. I never heard of this. Of the YouTube videos about it?
Yeah,
What the fuck, Danny?
they
What
have
the
women red faced and coming as the baby is coming. Oh my
Oh
God.
man, that's creepy.
Oh man, there's, I guess, I mean, I can't
like
stand.
think about this, like when these all the animals, like the animals aren't thinking about having kids when they're having sex, right? They're just having a good time, friction and all that. So, and like think about this, you're fucking a girl, and or like whatever, you're being fucked or whatever, like you're like what, like why would you think about, oh, I'm gonna have a kid? Like that would just ruin the whole experience. Like what the fuck, dude? Like you're gonna you're having sex and you're thinking about having a kid. I mean, that just won't even come in my head.
Yeah,
That just won't come
that's
in my
like
head.
not to bring back any theism at all, but that's the stuff that's really dark is that they're thinking that 90% of the time. You know what I mean? God, you're instilling me to have today be the day. This is the moment right here. God, thank you. Like they're probably praying while they're orgasming. Who knows what kind of weird shit they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm shot.
Thank you for this, Lord.
And,
Thank you. And like
and there are
it,
some women who
it,
get depressed their whole lives because they weren't able to have a child. Like they were infertile. They're like, fuck, I was never able to have a child. I couldn't experience the love like that's the thing, right? They're not satisfied with dick, they're not satisfied with pussy, they're not satisfied with money, they want to molest a child, basically. That's why they have them. That's the real thing. They want to molest, they want is a thing, a living thing for themselves who is going to love them unconditionally. Well, guess what? That doesn't happen. So fuck you, parents.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about genetic self-love. If it was about wanting to love a baby, there would be no need, there would be no foster care systems. There's plenty of children who are already in need that, could benefit from having a family as opposed to going through the horrors of a foster care system.
But
But
see,
yeah,
like I
look at
struggle with the foster care system because even then you're
uh,
supporting the continuation of natalism
Exactly.
to some degree. You know what I
that's
mean?
true.
Like if you just dropped it and the whole thing, it'd be like a black market, like marijuana or something. Like once it's legalized, there's no criminals walking around anymore. They just poof out of the air. They just disappear. So, um, like at a point to that more, at a bigger point to that. What was I saying? Fucking brain farted.
It's fine.
What was
Like,
I saying? Because I had a point. I want to get to the point. Um,
About the foster care system and the black
oh,
market.
mm,
you're supporting natalism with that.
oh,
You were
I think yeah, you're supporting natalism in a way, and it's kind of like you're using the child as a tool to to distract yourself from the world that sucks, right? Like the world sucks, whether you think or not, it sucks. It just does. But like you get a kid and you bring them in and you kind of like it's to me it seems like exploitative because you're using them as a tool to kind of like my life
yeah.
sucks, so I want to use you to bring my life up a degree. And if there's mutual beneficial situation there, fine, whatever. But you know what I'm saying, it just seems kind of selfish. And you don't even have to be a natalist because you're adopting and you're fostering or whatever.
Yeah.
You could be antinatalist fostering, but you still like would concede that your psychology is wanting to
Yeah.
just fill another need.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how people, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's they want to have a kid, but then they complain about it. I mean, it's so delusional. I mean, these pregnant women already have an idea of what their child is going to be like, what they're going to do, and how it's going to be. You know, they think about the baby's first steps into pro-life slavery, their their first words, you know, rock, and they don't think about temper tantrums. What if my kid gets leukemia? What if, you know, he does bad in school and becomes a psychopathic killer? They don't think about that. They always
Yeah.
think about the positives. It's
What if
delusional.
what if they work the same shitty job for 40 years that I've been working at? Like, they don't even ask themselves that.
Yeah, what if
Yeah.
they end up hating me? You know?
And Kevin, it gets even darker, right? Because you're like, you know, when we're existing, we're paying taxes in this system, right? So I'm living here in Hungary. Over here, there's a declining population. You know, people don't have much kids. So what the government does is gives them money, subsidies to have more kids, right? And where does that money come from? From me paying taxes, me and
Yeah.
others paying. So I'm by living, right, by paying this into the system,
Oh, okay.
going fundamentally against my philosophical
Yeah.
view, which is against procreation, and by living, I'm paying for it. It's like,
Yeah.
what
Oh,
the
Oh
fuck?
man,
that's a good point. That
excellent
sucks.
for yeah, to expose a excellent point to expose a shitty reality. It's like, yeah, it's like, you know, our taxpayers' money is going to people who can't, um, you know, for people because they, you know, want to procreate. You know, and it's crazy how like both the left and the right are pro-life in different ways. The right wing, they're pro-life, you know, because they're anti-abortion, but the left, they're also pro-life because they want to make it easy for people to have children. It's like, okay, you can't afford a child, have 10 more and we will pay for it, you know, pay for it all, give you benefits. You know, you get rewarded for creating future corpses that never needed to exist. And that's just,
They're
Well,
encouraging behavior by giving them money. What the fuck?
well, I got another flip for you, Blaze.
Yeah.
Okay, so the taxes you pay too is now supports the military industrial complex, but which sucks. I get how on the surface it sucks, no doubt about it. But you know, because it's just making the rich richer and that whole scene. But
Yeah.
you've also contributed to the ending of a life that maybe could have had a much worse life if they didn't go to war and they continued to remain. You know, you shorten
Yeah.
that life. So
Yeah.
in a way, that's pro-modalist, right? You
That,
know?
yeah, you're making the calculations even more harder now, right?
Yeah,
And another thing, right? It's so messy.
it
Life is so
is.
messy.
Yeah, totally. That's the problem, I guess, is the point. Yeah, is like
Yeah.
it's a lose-lose game.
Yeah.
Why play it, basically?
I mean, I am completely biased. You know, if you want to take my tax money and fund abortions, vasectomies, tubal ligations, euthanasia, take it all. You know, but if you want to fund life, you know, pro-life issues, don't take my money. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very biased on this issue.
Yeah, you should just simply have the option, like you don't have kids. Oh, okay, skip this step of paying, you know, for I mean some aspect of public schools, or at least we get a discount. Jeez. Give us a
Yeah.
50% off, you know, funding something that we're not a part of, or a
I mean,
service that we don't utilize.
the most reckless thing you can do is have a child. So we're financially rewarding the worst behavior that you can do. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's like I kind of take back what I said too, because you know, I don't mind paying a larger tax to have services that are, you know, universal health care and free college and things like that, you know, so it's hard to
Even
smart.
military, like there's a need for security because there are lunatics, right? So you're gonna need to have some sort of security. Like at the end of the day, right? When I give this argument that you're not going to convince everyone, I'm like talking about, more like the extremist religious, that you're not going to have an argument with them. You're going to have to have a war. There's going to be a conflict, because they're not going to get it. They're No matter how simple you make it to them, they're just not going to get it. You're going to have to go to war at the end. So yeah, if it's about cessation, like if my money is going in, exterminating wild animals, right? If just getting reducing the number of wild animals in the environment, right? And like let's say like I'm living in civilization, right? So they're gonna make more roads and buildings, so that's gonna end the wild animal suffering. So yeah, logically it would become the logic will follow that, yeah, that's a good thing, because it prevents more bad in the wild to make roads, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these are difficult questions to answer, because we don't have all the variables to predict the future, predict what our action is going to cause.
Yeah.
And so the uncertainty should make everybody want to become promoted and say, fuck it, let's just get out of here
Yeah,
as soon as we.
Yeah, I know, because you're right. Because there's just so many things that people can think that they're doing that's admirable, like having a gas saver car, electric car or something like that. But if they're like a parent, like they've negated the whole savings of
Yeah.
your carbon footprint with your kid, and so fuck the Prius, might as well have a Mustang or whatever.
Yeah, like that Greta Thunberg chick, she was like, how dare you? She should have been saying that to her parents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
It's like when these people say to me, "Oh, you're so negative, and why do you keep on bringing the negative stuff and this and that?" And I'm like, no, I'm just a messenger of reality. I'm just telling you the message. If you don't like it, go to your fucking parents and say to them, "Why the fuck did you impose this reality on me?" Don't shoot the messenger. Shoot your parents who exposed you to recognizing Efilism, for example. It's
Mhm.
it's like the thing where what we're basically talking about is, it's a raw, like I talk, like when I make videos and all that, based on, like, most of the time I have points, but a lot of the time it's just me just talking straight raw, whatever's in my head, whatever's going in my thoughts, I just connect the dots and say it. But I like articulation too, writing and stuff, like Danny's letter, "The Right to No Longer Exist." They're like, it's I just said this, like, if somebody is gonna read it and be against the right to no longer exist, right to peaceful exits, I don't know if they have a brain, to be honest. Like, come on, it's obvious.
Yeah. Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate it. I'm working on a new project, but it's kind of in development hell. I'm trying to create some kind of right to die declaration. I got like inspired by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's like all these human rights organizations, they don't give a damn about the right to die. So why not create one like a human rights charter based on the unconditional right to die?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea, because it'd be the only one that probably exists, because
Yeah.
right now it's just, stipulations, you got a doctor's note, how many tests you got, like all these rules to just prove to yourself that you've suffered enough to die is the most insulting and infantilizing thing that really exists as part of this, and it just proves how much of a slave we are to like our own bodies.
Like, not even the suffering thing, right? I can just say, life is stupid. I don't want to play a stupid game.
Yeah.
Simple. Like, why do I have to jump through these hoops of, hey, am I mentally ill? No, it's, if you think life is something other than stupid, you, sir, are mentally ill. And I can prove it, because you are saying it's okay that all the suffering happens. And I'm saying, no, it's not okay, because I wouldn't want to live those. I'm having the intelligent, logical conclusion that it doesn't matter if the suffering is happening in this brain or in that brain or in that brain. Suffering happening is the bad thing. So it's stupid to pretend that there's something else going on this planet. There's nothing else going on this planet. And when a person realizes that, holy shit, it's stupid, even though I'm not physically, having a debilitating suffering, I think it's stupid and I don't want to play stupid. That's it. Give me the peaceful way. I don't have to go. I shouldn't jump from the building or, rope myself or something and suffer just because I think it's stupid. No, I should have the right to take the Nembutal and just go to sleep because it's stupid. I don't want to wake up in a stupid system tomorrow. Now, unless you can say tomorrow there is a guaranteed that everything is going to be okay, maybe I think I'll say, okay, I'll think about it. But you can't give that guarantee. You will be an arrogant bastard to say, don't worry, suffer now. It'll be okay in the future. You'll be an arrogant bastard if you say that.
Exactly. We are our own property. Our bodies should not be owned by somebody else. To say that you can't die, well, there's no logical reason. The dead cannot experience a negative state. So what is the freaking problem? Yeah, it's like these so-called right to diers. They're so obsessed with labels too. Mentally ill, physically ill, terminally ill, and it's like shit. It doesn't matter. Your reasons belong to you.
Yeah, it's like saying, why are you having sex with this person? It's like, fuck you. It's my own business. Like what I'm doing in a bedroom with somebody else. Like, fuck off. Like it should be that. It should be that insulting to hear someone say, so, okay, tell us. I mean, can you imagine some of the embarrassing things that people endure to try to like go through the application process of these things? Like, okay, so tell us why you really want to die. Like as if it's a job fucking interview, like, oh, I would, because it's sad because you could have a person have all the qualifications, right? They're 6 months terminal maybe, but even if now they're doing the Sound of Mind interview today, and the guy seems, we're saying the stuff we're saying. We're like, nothing wrong with me. Fuck you. I just don't want to play this stupid game. Life is insane. And if, or whatever, you'd probably be rejected. They'd just be like, I don't know about this person.
Well, I would like to ask them, why do they want to live? Why do they want to have children? Why do they think that life is a positive? So I can turn everything they say back
exactly.
Oh yeah, and you could kind of start to insult them too. You know what I mean? Like, so like, what gets you like aroused about life, huh? Was anything? Did the trees and wind get you hard, or buddy, or what? Like you could start to kind of, fuck with them the way it feels like that they're making fun of you, because it's like you must be so down, you must be so, or even just the implication of abuse or something, some trauma happened in your life for you to get here. And it's like, even if it did, we'll give it to me anyway. But even if I didn't, that's none of your freaking business.
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't. I mean, even Switzerland, you look at Switzerland, you have to have doctors, medical records, doctors' assessments, opinions, and they won't accept people who are suicidal, which in and of itself is it's ridiculous to play around with semantics. If you want to end your life, you want to end your life, whether it's because you're depressed or just find it stupid. And it is, it could, somebody with a terminal illness is no more or less suicidal than somebody who just don't find life worth it anymore. And
Well, sorry.
I just go like, I recognize the truth that is sentience is suffering. So if you're sentient, you are suffering. There's no positive. There's just homeostasis and entropy. Homeostasis and entropy. Nothing else for a sentient being, right? And like that, the cycle, the condition of being in a condition of fighting for homeostasis and inevitably getting done by entropy is negative. So I see life as negative logically. So logically, I say for a sentient being, it's always better to cease to exist. It's going to die anyways. That's another key point. So that's where primordialism comes. A sooner death. You don't necessarily have to be against death. You can just say a sooner death is better than a later one because of the asymmetry, because of the like I talked about homeostasis and entropy, pain and pleasure dynamics, right? So you're like, yeah, this is my philosophical view, and that's this is the implication of it. That yeah, I just want to check out that it's done. Like no other. Oh, but I think you're depressed. I think you have daddy issues or mommy issues, or you've got some other issues. Yeah, I've got some issues. Who cares? I'm the point being made is that I'm doing this because of this argument, because of this philosophical view. I'm on the peaceful pill because I have this philosophical view that if I'm sticking around here, I'm at a risk, and no risk, no loss.
Yeah.
That's a true factual statement. No risk,
Right.
no loss. And I want to prevent the loss.
Yeah, because the loss could be just beyond a type of suffering that you can't even imagine ever. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't, you know what I mean? Any one of us could burn in a house fire tomorrow. I mean, I can't even imagine that degree of risk and pain and brutality and stuff. But you also just can, back to like, you know, what they're saying too, is just you could just give them the numbers. That's all you need, right? Like way over 1 million people per year are doing this. So I'm not some freak accident here where I'm one out of two. You know.
Yeah.
Only the living can be harmed, for fuck's sakes. I mean, you can't harm something that
It's-
doesn't exist.
Exactly. It's such a like this is one of the like they say that, but the counter argument they give is, but they won't be around here to experience pleasure. But no, the main thing is the non-existent cannot be deprived. That's the main point. And once you take that, there's no other way. You can't say anything else to this fact. Like the non-existent, the ones who are dead and the ones who aren't born, aren't in some condition where they're suffering from a deprivation of fuck, we don't get to have sex anymore. That's not happening. There's no evidence for that. So yeah, just like that, you can't. There's no negative in being dead. There's negative in being alive.
Exactly, man.
Yeah, it's hard to get past that life bias stuff where it's always about, what about the joy? What about the puppy dogs and ice cream?
Yeah, but
It's
like you won't need it. It's like, okay, it's like we're forced alive for the same reason we were forced alive for the same reasons that we're forced to remain, and that is to benefit others. It's not for ourselves. If it was for, if they actually cared about our well-being, they wouldn't, number one, they wouldn't have created us in the first place. Number two, they would be for our everybody's right to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, if I take it even more step further, if like somebody says, I say to people, there are no intelligent, like there's no intelligence on the planet, right? So it's like, but there are people doing this stuff and that. Like no, if they were intelligent, they would choose cessation. They would choose that, holy shit, we're gonna die anyways. Why the fuck prolong it?
Mhm.
Intelligence just say, there's a pointless game of, and once you realize what you are too, right? You're just uh, going off your desire mechanisms, the impulses, hungry, horny, all that. And what satisfies you, it's so crude and stupid, like somebody has a favorite football team or something, and they won the Champions League. Yeah, I'm gonna drink the whole house tonight and this and that. I'm like, oh. It's intelligence would choose cessation. Intelligence, if human beings were intelligent, they wouldn't be alive.
Yeah.
That's such a great point. Is it's the people, because people like us, we thought this through, and most of these people are just mindless zombies. You was talking about like a football team and stuff. There was this football massacre and stampede in Indonesia a couple weeks ago, where people got into a brawl and killed. It resulted in 131 deaths over a soccer match.
Jeez.
Fucking hell.
It is like, yeah, but no, the right to die, that's totally illogical. I mean, you just, I mean, it would be a comedy if it wasn't a tragedy.
It is,
Yeah.
because like almost it's like opposite land that we live in, because almost it seems almost everything that I think or whatever is everyone, so society or legislation is doing the complete opposite of what I think should be the right thing to do. And sometimes I'm just like, it's a it can be depressing, because I'm just like, how the hell does not the rest of the people see this? Like, some people can see it and they grasp it and they're like, okay, yes, suffering sucks. Yeah, I mean, it's brutal. I broke my ankle 5 years ago or whatever. They get it, but they let go of it. And that's the problem I don't understand, is kind of like, I understand how you want to get kind of back to your hedonic set point, but you still have to remembering all of everything you've ever seen or heard or experienced yourself. Yet that alone, and just as one person, is a mound of evidence of like, holy shit, that's just me, my witnessing of it, and there's billions of other people witnessing billions of other unique separate events that they've experienced and seen that I haven't. And some of it's just, if there was, I know, the internet's cool, like you can see videos online, but it's like, even then it seems to not be changing anybody's mind. It seems to be that everyone would rather just watch cat videos or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not anti-internet. But I'm just, these past 30 years of having the internet was a big litmus test to see if humans can really come together and be intelligent and create a better world. I don't even like to use the word better, because that means that it was good in the first place. It always sucked,
Yeah,
but there was such an
that's logic.
optimistic.
You're very logical. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I remember like people talking about like how the internet was going to bring the world together, end all wars. But now we're even more divided than ever, because we have a yeah, 99% of the internet is just wasted on stupid shit, no intellectual pursuits, no search for knowledge and truth.
And no appreciation for it too, for
Yeah,
the 1%er who are trying to do something. Nobody appreciates.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's just kind of ignored and even
It's very
disrespected or something, or mocked. That's
yeah, like even worse, mocked. But I've taken I've been mocked so many times. People have called me so many things, and I just learned to take it. To be honest,
yeah.
like yeah, they're gonna call me crazy. They're gonna call me this. They're gonna call me Hitler. They're gonna call me misogynist because hey, what? It's a woman's choice what she does with her body. You're not pro-choice. I'm like, no, I'm pro-right choice. I'm pro-right choice. I'm not pro-stupid choice.
Yeah.
I'm pro-right choice. I mean, So they're gonna
Yeah.
call you misogynist or some other bullshit, and you're like, yeah, you gotta learn to take this stuff. You know, human beings are full of shit. They're gonna call you, they're gonna misrepresent you and just completely slander your whole philosophical view. So yeah, that's just humans. Deal with them.
Yeah, it's like, about like bodily integrity and stuff, pro-choice. It's like, what gives you the ethical right to use your body to impose harm by creating another body? That's I used the word like pro-choice before, when talking about the right to die, but I've been having a very hard time using that word lately because the pro-choice movement is like, okay, we're all for abortion, which I'm absolutely for abortion, but they're also for, having 20 kids if you want to.
If you want to, exactly, this whole thing to, hey, you mind your own business, you live your own life, let
Mhm.
this be pregnant and pop out 4 babies. No, fuck you. Then why
Mhm.
are you stopping the child rapist? Why don't you live your own life and just let the child rapist rape the child? What
Yeah.
the fuck? Why the fuck are you imposing your philosophical view on it? Like,
Yeah.
be consistent then, at least.
You could say, yeah, like the womb is a weapon,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great way to put it, man.
It's a tool to create suffering. So why should that be admired? And when you're at a hospital and having a kid and all the doctors are praising it all and saying it's a miracle and stuff, I'm just like baffled and like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Have you ever seen that uh image of like nine? It was also a video too. 9 women who work in a maternity ward got pregnant. They're all pregnant at the same time. 9 women, and I'm like,
I haven't seen that.
you see suffering every day. Well, why are you, creating a life that's going to end up in the hospital? Where yeah, it's like EMTs who have children. I mean, their child is going to have an aortic rupture one of these days, or have a stroke, or experience some kind of tragedy. But it never happens to their kids. It's only other people's kids. My kid's going to be perfect, and that is delusional. That's that
Yeah.
optimism bias.
Yeah, it's kind of sick. You really do have to have some sort of, to me, you gotta have some kind of mental, I don't want to say illness, but you gotta have some mental, what's the word, gymnastics to work in a hospital or be a doctor and,
Yeah.
doing
Very. Yeah.
surgeries and cutting someone's leg off
Ooh.
because they got diabetes and stuff. And you go home and just have your steak for dinner and go to bed. Like, how does that not,
No.
how does that not fuck with your head severely?
I mean, they do say surgeons are more likely to be psychopaths than like the average person, which makes sense because I mean, to have to deal with all that freaking blood, I guess you have to not be able to empathize with other people's
Yeah.
stuff.
And we've seen like, I mean, with humans too, like sadly, we're well at becoming conditioned or sort of get into the Stockholm syndrome, a situation where you just like abuse and trauma is the norm. So you're kind of just, you're apathetic about it. You're kind of like, whatever, this is just part of life. And maybe that's the way people talk about nature too, just that's just part of nature. What are you gonna do? We're used to animals eating each other, so it's no big deal now. Well, it should be a big deal to you, and I guarantee it's a big deal to whatever it is being eaten.
I mean, this sick mentality has been passed down through generations of evolution. I mean, ever since we were fish in the sea, it's like, so every generation, it's like, yeah, let's just keep doing this.
Yeah, it's like it's a full, like, again, the DNA molecule basically wants to do the survivability, right? It just wants to perpetuate. Its mission is to consume and make a copy, consume and make a copy. And we're just the vessels, we're just the, the mechanics of that DNA molecule. We are the arms and legs, And so basically you're being gamed by a molecule. So that's the first thing you have to recognize, that you're being gamed by a molecule, by a DNA molecule, which missions, I won't say who because there's no who, but whatever. The mission of that molecule is to just consume and make a copy of itself. That's it. And it will dispose off of you just like nothing. And this crust, the whole planet, is suffering like this for an unnecessary reason, which is just consume and reproduce and die, consume, reproduce and die. And that has been going on for millions of years. So the ones who were in like the recent history, they were so aggressive with their reproduction, and we're the descendants of those aggressive ancestors who fought through everything, and they still had like 9 or 8 out of 10 of their kids died, but they still kept on reproducing. So because of this force of the force of because they get horny, and the DNA molecule gave them the best pain reliever of rubbing your part in somebody else's part, and you're going to relieve all your pain for 30 seconds or something. But with that, it replicates by combining the sperm and the egg. So these our ancestors were so aggressive because of their horniness, because the molecule, that was the survivability mechanism of the molecule, to make the vessel horny for this rubbing of vagina and dick to replicate itself. And that's it. No extra shit. Nothing else is going on this planet. There's no magic, there's no ghost, none of that. This is the evidence, this is the truth. That's it. No extra shit, no multiverses, no aliens, none. This is the evidence, this is what we know. That's it. Stay in this context of reality.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
if the UFOs were that evolved and intelligent anyway, they would know, like, to be sympathetic enough to just blow us up.
Yeah, exactly. They'll
like,
just shoot the planet.
And why would if they were so advanced, why would their crappy vehicles be brought down by lightning? People still believe in the Roswell story and the aliens.
that's one, I've got to grant it though. Like, I'll concede a little, like, that's a pretty clever trick evolution has pulled on us though. Like, that desire though to be horny, and the joy of the friction and all that shit, is great. Like, it's even visually, as guys, like us,
Yeah.
like, we have even a visual stimulation factor.
Yep.
That's just, I mean, you just have to walk down the street and you're stimulated by seeing to me, it would be a cute girl across the street, whatever, and it's just like, fuck, it's pretty clever, I'll admit.
Yeah,
we've been
it's a nice, very good racket.
It is
to make the organism not kill itself, because the chase is established now. The chase just you don't like I said, you don't choose that, right? You don't choose to be horny, you don't choose to be hungry, it just happens.
Yeah,
we have pain receptors and sexual desires for one reason, and that is live long enough to breed before death. And it's like, shit.
Really bad story. Life is a very bad story. They want to make it a good story. They still want to hold on to the happily ever after story because of the whole programming with our cartoons, with all the the other all these other they go, the movies and stuff, they go to the other planet and they save life. That's the program. You have to save life. Or ever since you were a kid.
Or your family, there's so many movies where it's just about a guy saving his wife and kid or whatever,
Yeah.
It's just,
oh yeah,
Hollywood is filled with natalism. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's driving me nuts to where I can't even like watch these movies anymore.
Exactly. That's the thing, right? You don't enjoy this is one of the things that I've in my personal experience, the more logical you become, you can't enjoy life anymore. You just can't. You're like, because it's just like the vegan argument. I used to love Kentucky Fried Cruelty, but now I can't. Like now I know what the substance of it is. How can I enjoy it anymore? I think it's gross now, even though I love to eat it. And same for this. Once you recognize what life is, how can you enjoy it anymore? How once you know the substance of it, that you're just being gamed, basically. The strings are so obvious now. They just read the selfish gene. Just read one book and that's it.
It is. It's to me a combo of Efilism and like determinism. You know, I'm at the grocery store walking around feeling totally depressed about everything I see. I'm just nightmare there, nightmare there, and it's yeah, no, you can't help but just to get depressed and be like, fuck, man, like that sucks.
Yeah.
I wish we could be there's some silver lining thing inside of it is to sell it well, but and I guess you could say it's nice to be kind of not blind anymore to like what it is for what it is, so that's a positive, I guess, but it still doesn't mean it doesn't depress the shit out of you and just demotivate the hell out of me. Yeah, it's a grind once you kind of realize it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think of the deterministic part where it's cause and effect?
That's all what there is there.
But if we have acquired this intelligence of or knowledge of this, and so we've kind of, I don't know, I'm asking a hard question, but I was trying to think of like, once you've acquired a knowledge of something like this, though, is that, I guess that was determined to happen as well. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
It was determined because it's a simple argument of if you could go back, would you do it any different way? No, you can't do it any different way. That's the there's no counter argument to this fact, because the variables were already determined, right? Everything was determined. So it's like there's just no way to counter argue it. So you have to accept it if you're going to be intellectually honest. I'm a determinist because I don't believe in free will, because there's no evidence for free will. That's why I'm a determinist. If there was, I mean, like the word itself doesn't work. Free will, nah, we have a will. It's not free. It's the will is being controlled again, like I said, by hunger and horniness.
Desire.
And yeah, and that's not in your control. That's what the DNA molecule did. That's what your ancestors were. That's your descendants of those beings who were aggressive in this replication thing. So that's why you can't help it when you see a cute or something. You just get this thing in your head. Oh, I can do this, or let me try, or whatever. But then you get into the whole black pill argument, and you're like, nah, there's not even a point in doing this relationship thing. Is just, you're more likely to suffer than find someone who understands.
Yeah,
there's no point in playing the relationship game to just take the black pill. And it's all just it's all based on how, like, human beings are so full of shit. They do this bullshit of, oh, it's be confident and you'll get a girl or some other bullshit, when it's all about looks. It's all about how you look at the end of the day. Like, for most people, that's the game. And it's very unfair. Very unfair. You don't choose how you look to, you don't choose your height. And these are very important factors in the sexual market thing. You can't bullshit people and say, no, it's about your personality. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah, I just like you because you're funny or something. It's like,
I mean, good looks signal good genetics, and
Exactly.
which signal good offspring, which is a stupid mechanism because 10 out of 10s give birth to retarded babies all the time. Or, well, not them. minimize that tragedy. But broken people, they might have something wrong with their DNA that would make them more likely to give birth to somebody with major deformities. But whatever, life is a deformity.
Yep.
It is, and it's just really weird to think about that just borderline infinite regression of cause and effect events that came to be who you are right now, this second. Like I'm never, I go, you go into the grocery store and you like who you are in that grocery store, in that city, in that country, with the parents that you have, whatever, and then their parents, whoever they were, whatever town they were born into. This whole thing is just this. It's just a big like roll of a dice. Just
Yeah.
what town and religion and whatever are you gonna grow up in? Let's see. Like it's pretty scary. That you don't have
The
any
culture.
control of that. What's that?
I'm saying the culture, you don't choose your culture too. And the culture is a huge part of your psychology. Huge. So again, you just can't make this argument for free will. There's no such thing as free here. No such thing. Everything has a you're gonna have to be dependent on something. There's a necessity for that event to happen. There is a necessity for a cause to affect, to create that effect.
Yeah.
So you can't get rid of that necessity. It's not free. There's no free thing.
I know that even just the concept of free is annoys me.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is free. It's like your religion is determined by your geography. It's your beliefs are usually determined. It's all determined. We think, how we feel, our thoughts. I mean, it's a delusion. I think that I'm choosing to feel a certain way or move a certain way or talk a certain way, but I'm really not. It's my brain ordering me to.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, you're just witnessing.
Yeah.
It's which is just scary in and of itself, because it's like you're the robot that's walking, but you're not controlling it, and you're just okay, great. Like you're out of control. It's it's like another one of the bad driver, the driver that's falling asleep on the road, but you're forced to ride, you're forced to have them still be your driver. And
yeah, there are truths and there are lies, and free will is a lie. You can't compatibilize it into some notion that there is. It's like this whole the multiverse, the quantum mechanics argument. The atom is in this place and at that place at the same time. No, then they are not the same atoms. Like it's illogical. A can't be A and not A at the same time. That's illogical. Not because I say it, it's illogical. So now either you are for determinism or you're for free will. This mixing of compatibilism is just like this agnostic thing. But maybe there's a God, or I mean, choose a fucking side.
Yeah, and the only kind of hard determinism that a compatibilist would concede to would be, did you choose your eye color or hair color, or like these things that are obvious, and it's kind of annoying because they don't want to get into the depths of free will and the real stuff, because it's obviously everyone can concede to is the sky blue or whatever. Like,
yeah,
did you
it's like you also have to read the psychology, right? You read human psychology, then even then you're gonna come to the same conclusion that fuck, we're just robots through this societal and biological programming. We're programmed by this biology and the society that we were born in. That's it. Our parents. That's it. It's that simple. Or we came across vegan activist videos or Gary's videos or my videos or your videos,
and we became enlightened with the truth, and then we choose to accept the truth, because our brain basically chooses to accept the truth, because our brain is stuck in the dilemma of, oh, either I'm for the lie or I'm for the truth.
Yeah.
A lot of people argue against determinism because they're like, well, you change your mind. Well, that mind, it's still deterministic. It's like, our brain, we're computer programs. Our brains are computer programs. What comes out of my mouth may affect your hardware and vice versa. Yeah, that's all it is. Like convincing people of an argument.
Yeah, like you ever chose to stop believing in Santa Claus, like, yeah, right. Like if you kept believing, then you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or at least you should be called as such.
Yeah, like this is another one of my arguments is that let's stop pretending stupid isn't bad or delusions aren't bad. Let's call delusions and people who are holding those delusions deluded. This Let's not sugarcoat the veil the language in some other crap. Let's just give the straight honest truth. And this is why I like George Carlin's stuff. One of his sketches was for soft language, and that's a really good video. And like it's like, come on, like learn to take the heat, right? If an FLS was gonna call you, hey, you're a pro-life retard. Yeah, he's not. That's not his personal statement. He's making it on the fact that you're valuing life in the sense of its perpetuation. You're valuing the perpetuation of life. You're a retard. Yes. Now, learn to take the truth. Learn to accept that you're a retard. No, how do you call me retard? You broke my feelings or some other bullshit, and you're like, how do you communicate with human beings?
Yeah, I know. How do you wrestle with just your frustration and yet having some tact at the same time? It's hard.
Yeah.
Because some days you feel like being like full on fuck you, and the other days you feel like being, the empathetic guy.
Yeah. It's all just mood.
It all depends on a mood that you never had control of too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great that you brought that up, because that is one of my favorite George Carlin skits. I actually remember, Kevin, I sent that one to you like a couple weeks ago.
I think so. Yeah. What was it? Let's
Soft Language by George Carlin. Soft language makes soft people.
Oh yeah.
It makes dishonest people is what it makes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of Efilism in his stuff.
Yeah, like that. That would be kind of a cool sell, is to find someone that's like him that would experience it, be exposed to it, learn it, however, from wherever, but start to use it in his material and in a wider audience. It'd probably be a nice way to get exposed, some exposure to it. But when he's using it as just material for a joke or whatever, people laugh at this absurdity of something, but it never goes into like,
yeah,
but
that's
now what, it's just next joke,
Yeah.
They just go home having the mind of Gallinger or whoever that guy was who smashed
Gallagher,
who used to, that was his shtick. He used to smash watermelons with a mallet. Yeah, not funny to me, but yeah, I love George Carlin, Bill Hicks. Those are two of my favorites.
Yeah, mine too. Bill Hicks. I like Bill Hicks. Doug Stanhope, George Carlin, and Bill Hicks. Yeah.
maybe you
That's
could do
new stuff. I haven't followed it, but his old stuff, like, so he had no filter on. Like he talked about suicide. So he talked about abortion. Just right to the core in front of people. And I think that's the problem, right? now when like I can make videos in a comedic way, right? People are gonna laugh at it and maybe it'll get more views or whatever. But the point is, people have to take it in and then uh, internalize it and do the introspection. Like George Carlin makes them laugh at themselves that, look, this is how stupid you are. And they laugh at themselves. But the thing should be they should go home and think, introspect and reflect and say, yeah, holy shit, this is the life is bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? And like, just say, let's stop procreation. Let's, come to these conclusions. Why is there a disconnect? Like I watched Carlin's video and I'm like 100% on board with this guy in most of the stuff he speaks. And these are the video has millions of views and so many likes and so many positive comments. So they should also be coming to the same conclusion as I am. But no, when I bring up Efilism with a person who agrees with Carlin, it's like
It's weird.
they can't.
Yeah. It's like a temporary suspense of your own subjective beliefs or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, okay, he's talking about how life sucks or whatever, and then the punchline comes and it's like ha ha ha, but maybe there's just a door they open and say, okay, for tonight, for this little comedy bit, all bets are off. I guess that's the beauty of comedy. You just, even the person that might disagree with you can open the door of belief for a second.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Or they're laughing because it's so absurd, and then there's a punchline, and then it's like observational comedy, like Seinfeld. He says shit. It's like because it's true. Like if he says this sucks about phones or whatever, everyone's laughing because it's true. The truth, if it's half true, or I mean, if half your bit is half, speaking the truth, and then some weird punchline at the end. But you don't sell them though, because they're just there for short-term ADD entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one's trying to really seriously think hard about, existential shit or whatever.
Exactly.
So it sucks. I wish there could be some.
And then you get into the philosophy, right? Then some people are interested in philosophy, right? So they'll come, then you're like, yeah, they would be more receptive. But even though they're also like when they come into the philosophical realm, they're just doing this academic shit. I've read Schopenhauer, I've read Benatar, and this, and you're like, no, dude, this is not. You don't have to read philosophical books. This argument is very simple. Life exists on Mars. Suffering exists on Mars. Sorry, Earth. Life doesn't exist on Mars. Suffering doesn't exist on Mars. Mars better than Earth. Simple. I don't need to write a huge book to say this 3 sentences. And like, to be intellectually honest, give me a counter argument. Whoever's being against Efilism, give me a counter argument. And yeah, I'll accept it. But the point is, they know there is no counter argument. So they'll just slander. They'll say, Ephilists are, psychopaths. They want to kill people. And first of all, why is that even a bad thing? They haven't even proven that. They're just going off this social construct that, if you killed someone, you inherently did a bad thing. No, you have to do the calculations to prove how. Because first of all, the person who's dead, he's not suffering anymore. So intrinsically, you did a good thing. You ended someone's suffering or prevented their future suffering. So first of all, that argument even just goes like infantile. It's like, what the fuck are you saying? And then after that, you have to recognize that that's not what Efilism is about. Efilism is not just about this one human or these cows only. No, it's about the whole sentient. And I don't think I can make a comedic representation of sentient life existence on the planet, because I can't make anything funny out of it, because it's horrific.
It's like mocking
horror.
It's like trying to make a Holocaust joke. It just can't be funny.
Yeah.
Maybe George Carlin could, though. You never know, because he's he's
Yeah.
saying he makes stuff that's like, oh, everyone, love the children, love the children. Well, I say fuck the children, and everyone's laughing at fuck the children, like it's pure antinatalism, but
Yeah.
they don't
But
realize
when
it.
an says that, oh, you're depressed or some other bullshit.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it needs to be some kind of clever mind like him to sell it. But why would you want to package it in a comedic way anyway?
Yeah.
Because it takes the heaviness and off of the importance of it and the severity of it, and if you just sprinkle sugar over the top, it might confuse people too and make you feel like you're just the idea is a parody. It's not real when it
I
is.
think
Yeah, you can laugh at human stupidity. I do that. That's one of my coping mechanisms now. To just laugh at the stupid apes. Look at how stupid these apes are. Just get through the day with that. So yeah, you can do that, but not laugh at suffering. You just especially the torture that happens. Like I show you what happens in the slaughterhouse. Like you can't make a joke out of it.
exactly.
It'd be sensitive and disrespectful to say, yo, but yum yum bacon or some other bullshit. That's a stupid joke. It's not funny. You're disrespecting, you're mocking suffering. You should be the recipient of it. If you're gonna mock it, then you should be the recipient of it. You should feel it, you should experience it, and then somebody should laugh at you. So then you might just say, holy shit, I was a fucking cunt. And I was laughing at somebody else suffering.
It's the whole thing of getting what you deserve. It's like sometimes, unfortunately, people have to go through suffering to understand the suffering. I mean, well, we all suffer, but just understand the pure horrifying gravity of it.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's like the right to die's issue is people seem to not be empathetic until they've either experienced it or they've had a close relative experience it or friend, and instead of kind of just looking at it more objectively and being like, oh yeah, someone's screaming in pain and blood is squirting, okay, I get it. Like you don't have to have a severe severed artery and to get it. Like some people get it and some people don't. I don't know why. It's fucking weird.
Now we
And
watched. Oh, sorry.
go ahead, I was just rambling.
Yeah, we watched the Dr. Phil episode on the right to die. Oh, that was a horrible episode. They had one person from Compassion and Choices that label themselves right to die, which they are really not. They are very strict. You had a person or you had Brittany Maynard's husband, who was on there. Brittany Maynard, she's the one that got the death with dignity, but she had less than 6 months to live. But it's like the only reason that he was on there is because he had a personal experience. And, he wouldn't be for the unconditional right to die. He would be for Brittany Maynard's style right to die. Then you had the hospice guy who was straight up against euthanasia. And they only showed Nitschke out of that whole series. Philip Nitschke, for about 3 minutes, wasn't it? Like 3 minutes, and then like Dr. Phil was doing his bullshit.
Yeah, like
But
2 minutes maybe. Yeah. It was a bummer because it was like he was the only person talking about the real stuff of what's going on and not just the same old snooze fest of 40 years of criteria, cancer, or whatever. It's sad. So sad.
it's really sickening. That bitch from Compassion and Choices, which should stand for control and cruelty. She was bragging about how strict their policies are.
Yeah, and I'm half pissed at Dr. Phil on that because he sort of set her up where he did the type of questioning that's like, correct? Am I correct here in saying that you guys have criteria, right? You know, it's harder to disagree with the way he sold that, so it just annoyed me. But yeah, fashion and choices though were drop the ball, because like, why do you want to have more criteria for someone to prove that they're worthy of some peaceful exit? That you should be shameful of yourself for having more criteria. You know, you shouldn't be more proud. You should be less proud. You know.
These people don't deserve to call themselves the right to die. Either you have it or you don't.
I know. I think that's something me and or I have, at least. I think Danny did, but you can remind me of, or you can correct me, but is realizing that the right to die stuff is not even close as what it really should be. Like a year and a half ago ish, whatever, I always thought they were farther along than they really were. And then I started learning a little bit more, and I was just like, oh shit, like only 200 people take it, you know, take the death with dignity out of 5 million.
But
Like,
the principle that you have to be sick to die, or you have to be, you know, the default is something is wrong with you if you want to, you know, get it over with. It's so insulting.
do you know what the stats are for people in Belgium, like citizens of Belgium that apply for the Belgium law that's the most liberal, and let's say they're just a 24-year-old with depression or whatever, can they get it? Like, is it accessible to that for them? I don't know any stories specifically about.
There was just a story about it. Somebody posted on our channel. This 23-year-old got it, but she was traumatized by a terror attack that happened in 2016.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, they put her through years of fucking forced therapy.
Oh,
Until she was green lighted. They told her to go to the memorial service, which made things worse. She wanted to die, but she had to go through therapy to get it. She had to go through fucking hell.
well, and the sensationalism of the story. So for
Yeah.
it to be a public story, that pushes things along too, I'm sure.
Well, the media makes it out like these countries have the real right to die. That's sensationalism. That's
Yeah.
not reality of the legislation.
Does Hungary have anything right now for that?
Nah, it's bullshit. There's nothing. You go,
Nothing.
oh, you're gonna kill yourself? What the fuck are you talking about?
Really? Jeez.
Yeah, I think they have this. I mean, if you're old, again, the goal criteria thing, you're suffering from, then yeah, a doctor can say, yeah, give him the morphine or whatever. But if you want to just check out, no, fuck no. The whole society it's pro-life here too. Even though they're having less kids, but their thinking is still pro-life. Yeah.
How religious is it there?
It's not. I mean, a lot of the young people that I talked to, the Hungarians that I've met, they were mostly atheists or at least agnostic, but which is again bullshit. But whatever. But other than that, they're Catholic. They're Christians.
Mm.
I don't know if they're. They usually don't bring up much religious stuff. Like in Romania, right next to Hungary, Romania, there's a lot of religious indoctrination.
Eastern
But
Orthodox.
it's less. Again, there's less people overall, so there's gonna be less bullshit overall, like this, you know. But like but in this place, right? I go to work and stuff, and there are people from other countries, right? Third world and all that. And they believe in all sorts of crap. They believe in voodoo. They believe in witches. I mean,
Jeez.
what the fuck am I even talking? How do you even bring up Efilism with these kind of people? And this
Yeah.
is one of the things that I wanted to get into like the solutions, right? I wanted to ask you guys, right? Like, yeah, first things first, right? Give us a right to die, a universal, peaceful exit, free abortions, free sterilizations, and the children that are going to be born tomorrow, they will be sterilized, right? So these are the first things first. Now in terms of solutions, like what would be the solution for changing the perception of people's head? And the other question is, what would be the solution for cessation? What would be the red button? As far as, like, I'll start first. Like, as far as the red button goes, I think the closest we have is the nukes. That's the closest options. And like, people who say you're all for nuclear, it's scary, and that, they don't even know the climate collapse, that once the planet gets heated up, the nuclear power plants are going to melt anyways. So that is going to happen. So I think that would be, like, we can do it right now. We can do it right, cessate this sentient existence. And when it comes to changing the perception, I think we need to, people have to research more in neurobiology to get to see why the logic goes in this brain but not in the other brain when exposed to the same information. So yeah, I think this is where I am at. What about you guys? What do you guys think about this, the solution? What would be your solution to these two dilemmas?
Well, I guess it could be multifaceted. But yeah, I mean, nukes, I mean, there's no limit to the yield.
Yeah.
I think, it'll be great if we could build more over like a couple of decades, just have a freaking nuke machine just pumping
Yeah.
out, put them in the marina or the marina trench,
Yeah.
put them in all the oceans. You got to make sure all the oceans.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Put moon too. Yeah. Put one on moon as well.
yeah,
So that bangs into two. I don't think anything is gonna be left after that.
oh, exactly. The hardest thing is convincing people, even people who study neurology, even atheists, they're still addicted to life, this life delusion. They
Yeah.
drop the God delusion, but still have the life delusion. They still worship nature. So to me, atheism is a rejection that nature is good, life is a positive. It is Efilism.
Yeah.
So there, it's one of the toughest. Truth is tough to sell. The closer you get to the truth, the more people want to just miss the target on purpose, just
Yeah.
to relieve it. So yeah, what do you think, Kevin?
That's I don't know. I got pressure. I feel pressure.
Sorry.
No, I'm completely with Blaze on the nuke stuff. Yeah, I don't know if you said it or not too. Sorry, I was distracted, but yeah, properly placed nukes with the amount of 15,000 that we have or whatever it is total, whatever it is, 12,000. I don't know, but I think we'll do the job pretty much. But that would be like today, and I wouldn't really be happy with that. It would be something that I wish that the perception needs to get changed first, obviously, and then a pursuing of building more nukes so that there's more destruction, because you can't have too much destruction. You can only have too little destruction, because if sentient beings remain injured, especially, you got a whole world of suffering that you created you didn't mean to. So I think if we just doubled the nukes up, I think that would be the solution. But changing
I think
perception, I have no
it's
idea.
still what we have, the amount we have, they're enough to make the planet uninhabitable, and that's the key thing. We just have to make it uninhabitable for a certain period of time. Because if it's uninhabitable, sentient beings require habitat to survive. If there's no habitat, then there's no replication. If there's no replication, then there's no life.
But there has been like a lot of extinction events where you would think that it would wipe out all life, but life came roaring back. So I'm like, if we had like 1 billion or 1 trillion huge mega nukes, I mean, with a huge yield like the SAR bomber or something, and you dot that all over the place, that would be more of a guarantee than using the current nukes we have now.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. But even then, like once I started to read more about the whole climate collapse, the thing is, if the temperature is high, then there's no habitat. Even if there's sentient beings in that time suffering, they won't. They will, mm, die off because the conditions aren't uh, aren't able. Like it's not. The conditions aren't preferable for habitat. Habitat is the main thing. We got to take out the habitat.
Okay,
If the
but question
sorry.
for you. Will would the nuke destruction obliterate sea life though? Because sea life doesn't need a habitat really per se to live in. It can just live deep in the oceans and survive. And
The thing is, the nuke destruction will cause a rapid heating of the planet, and heat will like the oceans will be dried,
okay.
right?
I
Then
didn't
we're
know
talking
like
about
what.
a lot of heat, so that goes too, right?
Okay.
And then for that, we can just put deep in the ocean. So, like we can get around that too.
Okay. I was just curious because I didn't.
It's basically more like I agree with you guys. It's more about where you put them. You know, where do you put the nukes?
Yeah, because right now, like obviously, if in war we would just nuke like the Russia nuke the states, it would just be all on the states, and a lot of wasted nukes,
Yeah.
like obviously for the goal of what we're talking about, but the states would just really in a tight fit, nuke spark parts of Russia, so it wouldn't be a complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd have to be sparsed out, I guess, to really work. I don't know, but
Yeah, having said that, I would also say if somebody else has a better solution, like we can invent a gas that we just release on Earth, and that gas just makes every sentient being goes to sleep. But yeah, let's go for that solution. That's
have you,
much useful.
have you heard of that town that I forget is that died overnight because a gas came through? I don't know if it was like nitrogen or helium or something, but an atmosphere event happened in this town. We could look it up. I don't remember the details of, but anyway, 3,000 people died in their sleep overnight in this town because whatever it is that happened atmospherically, I think it just gave the entire town nitrogen or whatever it was, and they all just died overnight. Do you remember, Danny?
Yeah, it was in the 1980s, I think, in a village in this place in Africa. I forgot. I think it might have been a Kenya. I'm not sure what was released. And man, it's on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, it was released. Oh, I think carbon monoxide, maybe. I'm not
Carbon.
sure. But it was released and it killed like all the wildlife,
Well,
killed.
here's a question too. If the environment is 87% nitrogen or whatever that number is, I don't know. It's up there, right? It's like way high. Why can't we capture all that and bottle it up somehow in tanks and just have your own variation of a inert gas event?
A global inert gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it too, but the thing is, I don't think we have the resource to do it at once, right? I'm looking for a solution that we just do it, and like everything just goes, and nobody's around to check even anymore. It just happened. Like with these gases, we can go to one place first, just exterminate that, euthanize that place. Then we have to go to another place and do that. So it's still sort of perpetuation, right?
Yeah.
So I would say it's still the new, even with the gas too, right? Even if you do the whole gas thing, at the end you still blow the thing up so that you prevent, like it doesn't ever come back again.
Yeah, or
Do
like
the best.
some kind of hybrid of both. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Seems like the gas release, if possible, that would take like a lot of like work that
A lot of work. Yeah, a lot of
yeah, there
research.
would be we could do things a lot quicker
Okay.
I think if we did the gas. But yeah, I mean stick nukes in the atmosphere. I don't know, there's plenty of ways.
It's sad to think that there's actually the ability to do it now. for humans
Yeah,
to do this, and we're not doing it. Instead, we're
yeah.
playing some ego fucking war against each other, and you know.
The thing, you don't have the time to, right? It's likely going to happen, like where the trajectory of the planet heating up is going, right? It's likely going to happen. So the thing, me as an ethicist, I'm saying is do it right now while you have the chance, because later you might not have the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. And the speediness of it is very important too, because we don't want like living things to, be suffering from radiation sickness before
Yeah,
it dies. Like evaporate.
we gotta minimize wreck as much as we can. Yeah,
We're talking about total evaporation, instant
yeah,
evaporation, one button to ignite every nuke.
yeah,
Yeah, because you don't want, some nuke bombs, like Hiroshima and stuff, they, right there, and ground zero was like rats lived through it, because they were so underground, and
yeah.
like little other tiny creatures like survive, and now you just started a fucking cycle all over again.
Yeah, exactly. And you increase the number of sentient beings. So at the end of the day, it's all the game of maths, right? It's not about who's doing the suffering, it's about how many. So if you take the option and you were trying to end the suffering over there, but because of your or your your choice, this option, you created even more sentient beings in forms of rats, right? There are more rats now and they all will die, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's like doing something good eventually turned out to be even worse. So you have to do the calculations and do this one right. And I think the best is, you know um, at the moment we have the nukes. That's the closest we can get to the red button.
Yeah.
I
What
mean,
about?
the
Oh, sorry.
idealist would be to press the button and its lights are on and lights go out in a blink and everything just disappears. That would be the ideal, but we got to be realistic about solutions.
What about like big large worms that live like miles underground? I forgot what they're called.
Oh, from the Dune movie.
Well, probably, but
the shy haludes or whatever.
yeah, like yeah, like the worms and other species that live like deep in underground.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, but even they won't survive. It just won't.
and well, you want it also to not survive at least long enough to where the sun will do its exploding thing, or
Yeah,
or an
it's going
asteroid hits or something.
yeah.
Like I'd be okay with like a couple billion, cockroaches running around for a million years, and then and then some asteroid hits and finishes the job. But the problem,
I would still say even cockroaches are sentient, but like microbial life, who cares? No problem. Even cockroaches won't survive the nuclear blast. This bullshit of, oh, but the cockroaches survive. Nah, even they won't survive. Even no, it will all go to dust. It will all change to Mars eventually. Before it strikes the sun, it will be uninhabitable eventually.
I wonder
Always
how. Oh,
do
sorry.
it.
Sorry.
Let's
Oh,
just do it
sorry.
right before.
Yeah.
what, Danny?
It's like I wonder how that myth originated that cockroaches can survive like nuclear explosions.
People just like, it's more of it gets more into the word of mouth thing. They say something and the other guy and just spreads, and then they make memes and share things, and it just like, what the fuck. There's no evidence for that.
I mean, I was taught that in grade school or in junior high.
Well, maybe there's
Yeah.
some truth in it for like, some pest control, in Florida or something. Like they fume a whole house, but there's always a couple cockroaches left over or something, because I don't know, maybe there's something for that.
Cockroaches need habitat to survive too. That's a whole thing. Sentient beings require habitat to survive. And that's the key thing. If there's no habitat, we've won.
Yeah.
If we make the earth uninhabitable, we've won.
And if you make a nuclear winter so extreme that it would have created like such an extreme level of nuclear winter, I mean, it would get to a place where even oxygen isn't in the atmosphere.
Yeah,
Nothing will.
Oh, sorry.
I'm saying nothing will survive. Like if there's no oxygen, then what? Like there's no like carbon is the base of all life, right? There's no carbon, then there's no life. These are simple things.
Yeah, there's 1 minute left. I can't do any more, but so sorry to cut it off or whatever, but I
Yeah,
can't.
that's fine. It's been long. I gotta wake up in the morning too tomorrow.
Yeah. Plus, yeah. What time is it for you?
Right now it's where is it again? It's 2:36.
Oh, nice.
2:36. Yeah.
Well, thanks
Yeah.
for staying
It's
up
nice
late.
talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was-
great
Staying in
having
the
you
Apple
on.
studio.
Yeah, that was fun for sure.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks for being on. Definitely. I'll probably be on Joey's meeting on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, come along to that.
Yeah.
We've been going lately. Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
make
I talked to Rita for a couple hours the other day on the phone. That was fun. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
But yeah, thanks, man. That was fun for sure.
Yeah, thank you guys. I loved it.
Yeah.
Same here. Thank you.